Joining me now to discuss their decisions not to attend this Friday, Congressman Jared Huffman of California and Steve Cohen of Tennessee, both sitting out the inauguration, both Democrats. Congressman, thanks for being with us. I want to start with Congressman Cohen because you just announced your decision today, as I understand it, at the historic Mason Temple in Memphis. And I want to play a little clip of what you said today.
If you're for evil and for killing and for stomping on democracy and stomping on people who speak out and not allowing people to express themselves, you are not a great leader. You are an evil leader.
Congressman, tell me about those strong words. What was the turning point? Why did you decide not to attend?
Well, there's been many instances through this election and even the post-election where Mr. Trump has shown that he is not of the rectitude to be the President of the United States and a moral leader. Somebody who doesn't tell the truth, who has been misogynist and racist in his comments, and who has made fun of a man with disabilities. Then came saying John McCain was not a hero, Meryl Streep was not a good actress, and trying to take her on, and the Rubicon was crossed with John Lewis, the last of the big six. A civil rights icon and hero, and maybe the most heroic and courageous person in our Congress and maybe in our country. A man who gave up his self and his injuries for civil rights and fighting our country to get civil rights for his people that were denied through Jim Crow and slavery and for 360 years of persecution. Donald Trump has no decency, and it's funny, the man who said to Joe McCarthy, "Have you no decency?" was a man named Joe Welch, who said it to Senator McCarthy, who was represented by Roy Cohn, who was Donald Trump's lawyer and apparently is Donald Trump's alter ego. And I say it to Donald Trump, have you no decency?
Congressman, let me ask what the Trump camp would say, though. Why he was elected as president of this country? Why not go through the process of orderly transition?
Orderly transition is going to come through, but it wasn't an orderly and I believe appropriate election. I have been privy to papers and briefings concerning the Russian hacking of the DNC, the DCCC, and John Podesta. There are curious parallels between the Trump campaign narrative and what Russia was also putting out. There was Trump saying, Russia, if you're listening, get those 33,000 emails. There was Manafort, one of Trump's people, working for a thug in Ukraine. There were other connections. I believe that the Trump campaign knew what the Russians were putting out to WikiLeaks. They used it. Trump talked about it 174 times. He knew the polling showed that would be effective. It was effective. It influenced enough votes to turn this election. And when this election is turned by the stealing, the hacking, private emails by the Russian government and used by a candidate, there's a question about his authenticity of his election, subverting our election process, and that is something I cannot be part of.
You use the word authenticity. Do you agree with Congressman Lewis that it is that this election was illegitimate?
I believe it was. I think the facts will have to come out. And I want to say this. Jim Comey's probably investigating this. If he's not investigating it, he's being negligent. I think he has to be investigating the dossier that came from the M16 agent and former M16 agent in Britain. And I think where there's smoke, there's fire. Comey needs to stay at the FBI because he's the only person that might be standing between us and some information that is necessary for our democracy and our country to continue. And if something happens to Jim Comey or if he's fired, you've got to think that's the reason he's being fired.
I have to mention the Trump campaign has denied a lot of what you just mentioned, but I want to get to Congressman Huffman. You made your decision a while ago. You posted on Facebook back on January 7th that you're not going to be at the inauguration on Friday, and you said it is abundantly clear to me that with Donald Trump as our president, the United States is entering a dark and very dangerous political chapter, and you wrote, I will not sit passively and politely applaud as it begins. I feel I need to ask you the same question I asked your colleague, though. This is the tradition in this nation, is to pass power and for congressmen to be there for that transition. Is it disrespectful for you not to attend?
Well, Kate, it is the transition, and normally I would be there. Inaugurations are wonderful ceremonies. I've been to two. I never thought it would even be a possibility that I would miss one. But there's just nothing normal about what's happening here. And it's not just the man, Donald Trump, and I certainly agree with my colleague Steve Cohen in some of the concerns he's just raised. It's the totality of who he is, how he got here, what he stands for, and what we know he's going to try to do to the our democracy. There's something seriously wrong here. And so this is an individual decision. We'll all probably see it differently. But for me, I felt it was more important to do something positive as a counterweight to all this darkness, and that's why I'll be in my district and I'll be speaking at a naturalization ceremony for new citizens. I'll be volunteering at a Habitat for Humanity project. I'll be trying to do my part to light a little candle and drive out some of this darkness.
Will you be able to work with this administration?
Of course I'll try to work with them. I think you'll find me and many other Democrats giving Mr. Trump the chance for success that Republicans like Mitch McConnell and John Boehner refused to give to Barack Obama. But we're also going to stand our ground when he crosses important lines, and we know that's coming. There's just no doubt about it. So we're in for a difficult time.
Do you question the legitimacy of this presidency?
No, I accept the results of this election. I support the orderly transfer of power. For me, that's not what this is about. This is about the darkness and I think the dangers to our country that I see coming very quickly from a Trump administration, and trying to do something positive instead of sitting passively and applauding as all this begins.
Congressman Steve Cohen of Tennessee, Congressman Jared Huffman of California, Democrats, thank you so much for being with me. Appreciate it.